Welcome to the Today in History channel. In today's video we will talk about the day, February 11, 1990. The end of apartheid begins. The term apartheid, from the Afrikaans language, means separation, and is used to designate the policy of racial segregation practiced in the Republic of South Africa, in force until 1994 and characterized by the strict division between the governing white minority and the non-white majority. In 1910, only whites could have access to parliament, and a 1913 law on indigenous lands limited property in the hands of blacks, 13% of the country. Many Africans opposed these restrictions, which is why they created the African National Congress, ANC. After the victory of the National Party in 1948, apartheid became part of South Africa's government policy until the early 1980s. Numerous states and international organizations applied economic and isolation sanctions to the country as proof of disgust. In the application of apartheid, the population was classified into three racial groups: white, Bantu or black and colored or mestizo. Subsequently, Hindus and Pakistanis would form another category. The legislation regulated until the last aspect of the life of the different groups, from the places of settlement of each one until the works that they could carry out and the type of education that they could receive. It also prevented almost any kind of social contact between the different races. Interracial marriages were prohibited. They could not attend the same beaches or use the same means of transport. The Bantu were forced to group themselves in specific areas, Bantustans, etc. Discrimination in education was particularly extreme. Non-whites received an inferior education, as their work would be inferior, even though certain religious schools offered higher education to some black South Africans, including a university for blacks, Fort Hare, aimed at a small minority. The government enacted strict security measures, which made the country a police state where whites who openly opposed apartheid came to be considered communist extremists and outlaws. In South Africa, the main groups and institutions that fought against apartheid were the CNA, with its leaders Oliver Tambo and Nelson Mandela, and the South African churches, whose best-known representative is the Archbishop of Cape Town, Desmond Tutu. In 1960, in Sharpeville, southwest of Johannesburg, the police fired on a demonstration that was part of a civil disobedience campaign against the pass law. It constituted one of the worst massacres of civilians perpetrated in the country. The government declared a state of emergency and made the few black political organizations that were allowed illegal. However, this episode marked the beginning of the decline of the apartheid system. Already under the presidency of Frederick Willem de Klerk, the South African government began the process of derogating from segregation policies. Anti-apartheid leaders who were serving long sentences were freed, segregation on the beaches ended, and in February 1990, the ban that weighed on the CNA, Nelson Mandela, was released after 28 years in prison. In May of that same year, segregation in hospitals ended, and in October the law prohibiting racial segregation in public places came into force. Did you like the video? In the description you will find the blog link with the full article. Give an incentive by subscribing to the channel, liking, commenting and sharing with your friends. Hugs. Until the next.